Minoan civilization arose on the island of Crete. Their legacy was as masters of the sea and great shipbuilders. Bull leaping or bullfighting was both a sport and a religious ceremony. One of the largest cities on Crete was Knossos. A great palace was located there. The palace of Knossos where the legendary King Minos lived. The palace had several passageways. The palace had a network of paths through which it was difficult to find one's way. In this labyrinth, it is said, lived a Minotaur, a beast that was half man and half bull. Every year for 9 years, 7 youths and maidens came as tribute for Athens. These young people were also locked in the labyrinth for the Minotaur to feast upon. No one is certain why Minoan civilization came to an end, but about 14,000 BC, control of the sea and Crete passed to the Mycenaeans.
The Mycenaeans came from the grasslands of southern Russia to the lowlands of Greece. They traded with and learned much from the Minoans. The Mycenaeans went to war with Troy because Troy was controlling a trade route and unfairly taxing ships going from southern Russia to Greece. About 500 years later, a blind Greek poet, Homer, told the story of the Trojan War, but not quite exactly as it happened. In Homer's version, the Trojan prince Paris fell in love with Helen, the wife of the Mycenaean king. He kidnapped her, taking her to Troy. The Mycenaeans followed to get her back. After 10 years of fighting, Odysseus suggested they build a large wooden horse and place their best soldiers in it. Then the rest of the Mycenaeans returned to their ships and sailed away. When the Trojans saw the horse, they thought it was a gift and pulled it into the city. Once out of sight, Odysseus turned the ships around and began to sail back toward Troy. During the night, the soldiers inside the horse climbed out, opened the gate, and let the returning soldiers into Troy. But what really happened is that the Mycenaeans killed the king of Troy and burned the city. Then they returned to their homes with Helen. During the Dark Age, the Mycenaeans never returned to a peaceful existence. The Dorians drove them out of Greece. The Mycenaeans settled in the Aegean Islands and on the western shore of Asia Minor. Later, this was known as Ionia. This began a time of wandering and killing. Trade stopped. Many skills were forgotten, including how to read and write, fresco painting, working with ivory and gold. The people had to create a new civilization on their own, beginning with herding and farming. Eventually, they developed independent communities and began calling themselves Hellenes or Greeks.
Greece is a peninsula about the size of Louisiana in the Mediterranean Sea. It's very close to Egypt. The Persian Empire includes Turkey and Rome. Since Greek coastal cities were sandwiched between the ocean and the sea, they developed an awesome navy for trading and fighting. The Greeks were the original Olympiads. Their scientists studied the best way to perform sports. The Greeks invented dice. They also invented the crane. The Greeks invented arcs and columns. This obviously took advanced mathematics. This is a catapult. It could throw 300-pound stones at walls and buildings. This is a hoplite. Hoplites were middle-class freemen who had to pay for their own weapon and shield. All of Greece wasn't a democracy. Most of Greece was a monarchy, a type of government ruled by a king or queen. At the right is Pericles, a good king of Athens. Substantial wealth available only to elite gained access to benefits that society would have to be a member, which in most cases meant being a citizen, but access to membership was restricted. There was limited by gender. Men had fully access to legal rights. Women badly limited or no access to citizenship and few property rights. Second, membership limited by descent. Sparta was an isolated city-state that was culturally and politically different from Athens. Sparta was an oligarchy, or a government ruled by a few. They had two kings. During the Peloponnesian, Sparta sacked Athens. Spartan society was obsessed with war. Boys were sent to military school at a young age. Boys who are born deformed are left to die on mountainsides. Athenians were tough, but were encouraged to engage in activities like art, philosophy, and music. Alexander the Great was not from Athens, but Macedonia. Alexander was a brilliant military strategist. His favorite book was Homer's Iliad. Alexander conquered the Persian Empire and controlled the largest empire the world has ever seen. Alexander spread Hellenistic culture throughout Asia. Hellenistic is a fancy word for Greek. Alexander spread Greek technology and ideas throughout his empire. The Roman Colosseum has a strong Hellenistic influence.